One day, I'm sure they're going to invent TV that you can smell through. Hey, I'm Chef Sarah Glover. We are in Moab, Utah with Kodiak. This morning, I'm going to show you guys how to make Campfire breakfast cornbread. Let's get started. So the first step is to get our chorizo. Now, if you're a vegetarian and you're not into chorizo sausage, just skip this part out. What we're going to do is slice it up. I've got about 5 sausages here. I've had my cast iron Dutch oven heating by the fire here for probably about 15 minutes, so it's going to be quite warm. We're going to get our sausage and just pop it into it. The idea is we want to get the fats to start to render down in our chorizo sausage and get some nice golden brown flavor on there. Pop in a little bit of golden butter. Now let's take a moment to talk about distance. A lot of people are really intimidated to cook over a campfire, especially when you're using a cast iron and you're baking. I want to kind of inspire you guys to give this a go and not be afraid if it burns a little bit. So I've had my fire burning down for about 1 hour now, and as you can see, I've got some nice coals starting on the bottom. I've got the pan probably about, I don't know what this is, I'm thinking again in Australian terms, 30 centimeters, which is maybe about 15 inches from our fire. So we want a heat that we're not burning what's cooking on the inside. A good way to tell is actually by using your hand. If you can hold it there for say about 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds, without having to pull it away instantly, you know that that is a really great temperature to be cooking at. And also you're going to tell by, if I was to throw that straight in and the butter was to actually start smoking really heavily, you know that the pan is way too hot. Like when you think of a cooktop or a gas stove, you've got a knob on it that you can turn up and down. Essentially this is your knob that you're turning up and down when you move it up and down on your link chain with your little S-hook. We're going to grab some of our kale here. Now I'm a really hands-on kind of chef, and I want to encourage you guys to be that way as well. So don't be afraid just to get the kale and break it with your hands. Give that a toss. We want that to get some nice color on it. Next we're going to make the Kodiak cornbread mix. So you're just going to grab a bowl. You're going to throw in your Kodiak cornbread mix into the bowl. Just dump it on in. And then I like to always make a little well in the center of my bowl with my mixture. We're going to throw in some butter, some eggs, and some milk. If you're out camping and you don't have any fresh milk, feel free to replace this with water. Awesome. Then we're just going to mix it up. Starting in the center, working in our dry ingredients into our wet. Now here's my little add to this one. I'm going to throw in a bit of cheese, because who doesn't like melted cheese for breakfast? Before you go on your hike, your bike ride, or your kayak, maybe you're surfing. We're going to grab from the fire, testing our handle is not too hot, our chorizo mixture. So what we're going to do is pour our batter into the chorizo mixture, and we're just going to go straight over the top of it. Very gently, we just want to mix a little bit of that into the chorizo batter. Not too much, just enough so it just combines ever so slightly. And then I'm going to make some little wells, so to speak, where we're going to crack some eggs into this. Cool, so I'm just getting my spoon, I'm using the back of my spoon as I crack the egg to plop it into the cornbread batter. Don't worry if it kind of goes all over the place, it's totally fine. Cheese on top. We've got some onions, some spring onions. I'm going to do a few chives, hammer it in a chunk of salt. One thing is, a lot of people are really afraid of using salt, but I'm not. I love lots of salt. So make sure whenever you're cooking this way, give it a good hammering in a bunch of salt. The chives on top. We're a bit of a rustic kind of chef. A bit more salt, then back on the fire. Now, the cool thing about these is that they have these rims, and the reason they have the rim on it is so that when you pop coals on top, it doesn't fall off to the side. So the way it works is that you have heat coming from the bottom and heat coming from the top, and then the residual heat from the cast iron is, you know, retaining in and around the sides, which is going to act like that convection oven that you have at home. It's been about 20 minutes now. So typically the cornbread recipe says 30, but because you're dealing with fire and a residual heat in your cast iron pan, you want to pull it off a little sooner. So I'm going to get this guy off the fire. Probably needs to rest a bit. Oi! Okay, I'm not going to lie, I was a little nervous that I burnt the top of it, but that looks pretty bloody delicious. I'm going to call in my friends for breakfast. Oh yeah. Oh, that looks so good. So we've got little bits of chorizo in there, some egg, some kale. We're going to top it with a little bit of hot sauce, because who doesn't like a little bit of hot sauce? And if you really want some butter, you could throw a little bit of extra butter on there. The best part is enjoying this with your friends, taking a moment to soak in a bit of nature. Thanks so much for joining, and happy camping. Like moving, I'm spitting in my hair, so it's a hot mess. Best part is in sharing. Okay, go wait, I got it. Best part is sharing. Bloopers.